Another African news update on top Accolade news. In a continent where the air we breathe, the leaders we lose, and the dreams we chase collide. Tonight's headlines from Africa cut to the core. They reveal not just the power plays and pitches, but the raw pulse of the people fighting for breath, justice, and joy. The headlines. Protests erupt in Tunisia over pollution. Kenya declares public holiday to honor late former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. Joseph Kabila makes first public appearance since death sentence. African Union suspends Madagascar after military outs president. Kicking off of the streets of southern Tunisia. Clashes erupted on Wednesday in southern Tunisia's city of Gabes as protesters denounced decades of environmental neglect and health risks linked to the nearby phosphate processing plant of state-owned group Chimique Tunisia. Demonstrators marched onto the facility following a recent gas leak that hospitalized dozens, including children, prompting police to fire tear gas and leaving several injured. Locals have long complained of polluted air and water, rising cancer rates, and harm to marine life, while a 2017 government pledge to relocate the plant remains unfulfilled. The phosphate industry remains vital to Tunisia's economy, supplying fertilizer to Europe and Asia, but residents' grievances underscore the human cost. In Gabes, economic lifeline are clouded by toxic air, and the community's patience is running out. Turning to Kenya's collective grief. The Kenyan government has announced Friday, October 17, 2025, as a public holiday to honor the late former Prime Minister, Raila Odinga, who passed away while receiving medical treatment in India. A declaration was issued through the Kenya Gazette under the Public Holidays Act, coinciding with Odinga's state funeral and allowing citizens to collectively mourn the leader known for the decades-long fighting for democracy, reform, and national unity. Flags across the country are flying at half-mast, and condolence books have been opened in government offices, embassies, and ODM party offices. In remembering Raila Odinga, Kenya pauses not only to mourn a leader, but to reflect on a lifetime devoted to the promise of democracy. From mourning a democratic giant to a defiant return that could reignite old flames, former DRC President Joseph Kabila appeared publicly on Wednesday in Nairobi, marking his first sighting since being sentenced to death in absentia on treason and war crime charges linked to collaboration with Rwandan-backed M23 rebels. Kabila attended a ceremony with Congolese political leaders opposed to the Kinshasa government, signing a declaration aimed at uniting anti-government forces to end the tyranny, restore state authority, re-establish democracy, and promote national reconciliation. The government accuses him of aiding M23 seizures of key eastern cities in January, while Kabila and his party maintain the verdict is politically motivated. In a February up, Kabila expressed support for the rebels' campaign, though it denies any wrongdoing. The move signals a bold re-entry into Congolese politics amid escalating tensions. In a country long haunted by past struggles, Kabila's return may be the spark that ignites both hope and controversy. As shadows of past rulers lengthen, another African regime crumbles under youthful rage. The African Union announced on Wednesday the immediate suspension of Madagascar from its bodies after a military coup removed President Andry Rajoelina, who had first risen to power at 34 in the previous military-backed takeover. The coup came after weeks of youth-led protests over poverty, corruption, and the high cost of living affecting 75% of the population. The military declared it would install a president during a formal ceremony on October 17th, while the AU suspension mirrors actions taken against other African nations experiencing coup, including Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea. In Madagascar, political upheaval is not new, but each coup deepens the nation's struggle between youthful demands for change and entrenched power. You're watching the African News Update on Top Accolade News. Do stay with us. Still to come. Thanks for staying with us. Turning to the economy, Cairo is rewriting its own playbook to manage mounting debt. Egypt is set to complete another debt swap with European partners before the end of 2025. Planning Minister Raila Odinga announced, with further transactions expected next year. The swap will replace high-cost debt with cheaper liabilities, freeing funds for strategic projects, continuing the country's $1 billion history of bilateral debt swap with nations including Germany and Italy. Al-Mashad highlighted that these transactions align national fiscal goals with international priorities. In a delicate balancing act of finance and geopolitics, Egypt's debt swap may be small moves on paper, but they carry outside implications for the nation's economic future. Not across the Mediterranean. Tunisia's economic pressure are once again mounted. Tunisia plans to request up to $3.7 billion in exceptional direct funding from its central bank in 2026 to fill a persistent fiscal deficit, according to a draft budget bill. The government grappling with high public debt, weak growth, and limited external financing since President Kais Saied's consolidated power in 2021 also aimed to issue support worth $2.3 billion and raise wages across public and private sectors. Experts warn that heavy reliance on domestic borrowing risks diverting banking resources from the real economy and fueling inflation. The 2026 budget is projected to increase from 59.8 billion to 63.5 billion dinars, with a new 1% wealth tax on properties above 5 million dinars. As Tunisia leans even more to domestic coffers, the nation's fiscal lifeline risks becoming a chain around its own economic growth. Now to something lighter and louder. Grammy-nominated Nigerian superstar Davido will perform in Kigali at BK Arena on December 5th as part of his 5 Alive album tour, marking the 4th visit to the Rwandan capital in 2 years. The tour celebrates his 5th studio album, 5, released in April 2025, which blends Afrobeats, R&B, reggaeton, and dancehall across 17 tracks. The show follows a successful North American leg and a homecoming concert in Nigeria, highlighting Davido's growing international acclaim, including performances at London's Tottenham Hotspur Stadium with 50 Cent and Mary J. Blige. For Kigali fans, the 5 Alive tour promises more than music. It is a celebration of Afrobeats, crossing borders and uniting hearts. And speaking of triumph, Nigeria's River United are on the move with continental ambitions. Rivers United are set to arrive in Maputo, Mozambique, ahead of the CAF Champions League second round first leg match against Black Bulls, scheduled for Saturday, October 18th. The Nigerian side traveled from Port Harcourt to Lagos before flying out, with the return leg set for Godswill Akpabio International Stadium in Uyo a week later. A place in the group stage and the chance to compete for continental glory and prize money is at stake, with national pride on the line. Rivers United aim to turn Maputo into a launch pad for Nigeria's Champions League ambitions. That is Africa Tonight, turbulent, tenacious, and triumphantly tuned to its people's rhythm. At our station, we amplify the voices that demand change, because in every headline, there's a human story worth the fight. I am Ojorome Okocha, and this is the African News Update on Top Accolade News, keeping you connected to the pulse of the continent.